What's up, people? I'm Shaggy, the Opinionated Hippie, continuing my deep dive into Deep Purple's live catalog. Today I got Deep Purple, Long Beach 1971. Don't think this is an official release, though it is called the official live, overseas live series. I think it's a boot or like a... I'm pretty sure this show has been heavily bootlegged, though not in its complete version. And now we have a complete version of the show. Even though it's not an official release, it does appear both on their Wikipedia page. It appears on their official YouTube page. So I thought I'm going to review it anyways, just because I really like it. And I do think it contains possibly the best version of a certain song than on any other release. And that is the reason I want to talk about it. I also was going to invite everybody to come out to the slam tonight. I'm hosting a slam in which we have $1,000 in prize money. We got poets coming all over from Texas, but I realize I'm not posting this until the morning. So maybe I'll see you there, or maybe I saw you there. But anyways, let's get on to this. I'm going to talk about this, and then I'm going to rank it among all the others. So this came out about 10 years ago in 2015. It is a show in Long Beach, 1971, right before the release of Fireball. The Mark II version, classic, the classic lineup of Deep Purple. And I will say this, if you have not heard this and you might want to check it out for any reason, do not check this out unless you absolutely love a John Lord keyboard solo, organ solo, whatever he's using to make sounds, and a Ritchie Blackmore guitar solo. If you don't like really, really, really long versions of those things, you might want to skip this release. 4 songs, all 4 of them are longer than 10 minutes. 2 of them are longer than 20 minutes. 1 of them is close to 30 minutes. Yeah, and that's what you get. 4 songs, a whole bunch of solos. Indulgent solos. This is an indulgent mess. I was one of my favorite reviews of all time, right after this came out, or right when I found this. I think I didn't get into this till a couple years after it came out. I came across it and was considering buying it. And I read a review of this that just called it an abomination, everything wrong with Deep Purple, and it just listed all these things like, then in Mandrake Root, for some reason, Ritchie Blackmore goes on this completely indulgent 15-minute guitar solo. Later on in this video, I'm going to be like, and then Ritchie Blackmore drops into this killer 15-minute, actually 18-minute guitar solo. So all the things they were complaining about, I'm like, yeah, that's why this is such a fantastic release. So if you want songs and you don't want... Ian, the singer, kind of gets the short shrift on this. Like, it's like he sings and then he gets to go do something for like 20 minutes while the band just jams things out, or not even jams, while either Lord or Blackmore just to go off. No drum solo in this. Pace isn't getting any love, or at least if there was a drum solo, it's cut off of this. Don't know when they would have squeezed it in, though I'm sure they could have squeezed it in. I'm sure Mandrake Root could go well over 35 minutes if we just wanted to add a drum solo in there. But what do we get? The sound. Sound starts off a little rough, and not rough, but it's definitely not one of the better sounding, even for the early 70, 71 Deep Purple era stuff. It reminded me like the first half of Speed King before we get into the middle section with like Lord and Blackmore just kind of trading solos back and forth. The way it sounded in the beginning, I literally wrote, it sounds like every single Long Beach show I've ever been to in my life. Long Beach venues, never been good sounding venues. A lot of times they just play at the arena down there. I saw a lot of shows in the arena back in the 80s, early 90s. Just this box of a venue. The sound was a little rough early on, but I think it definitely gets better. And anytime Blackmore is soloing, you can hear Blackmore perfectly. You can kind of hear Pace perfectly. I wish Glover was higher in the mix, but it really is, as great as Glover is, the stuff Pace does just to keep pace with Blackmore is just outstanding so many times. And really the Mandrake solo is just Blackmore going off and Pace just constantly just keeping the energy and keeping the momentum. Just absolutely fantastic. But there's no drum solo on here. But what do we get? Opens up with Speed King. This is one of the more, I don't know if it's just mediocre or just average or just lacking something versions of Speed King. If I have any complaint about this release, it's just the Speed King. The sound early on doesn't immediately impress. And by the time the sound gets better, they really bring it down for that middle section. It is super chill. The going back and forth licks are super chill. Blackmore, every time he comes in, he's like a little frip action at first, then he's going in a little bluesy action. Blackmore, I think, is bringing it pretty hard, but I don't think the interplay is that exciting. Kind of gets interesting when we build up into the final vocals and then we end the song. But this Speed King feels like it should be like in the middle of the set, just because we start hard with like the song proper, and then it just gets we bring it so down. It's just like, this is too early to bring it this far down. Almost seems like it almost should be like an end of the show thing, because you kind of want to bring it down for a while and kind of regain your energy for one last push before we get, like that kind of stuff. So Ian comes in towards the end and starts singing a little bit, Who Do You Love? Blackmore, I think, saves this towards the end when we ramp up towards the finish, but it leaves me wanting more. I think there are better, shorter versions of Speed King that are out there, just because they maybe hit it harder and don't waste time like bringing it down and letting things build, but it doesn't really build to anything all that climactic. So if there is something that I find disappointing on here, it's the opening Speed King. But then we get Strange Kind of Woman. I love me some Strange Kind of Woman. Any Deep Purple band can do Strange Kind of Woman, and I'm all in. Ian introduces it. It's an interesting little story about a prostitute and a friend we know. The rhythm and the beat, I want to say this is one of the early versions. This is where Fireball was released. It's a little heavy, it seems. It plods a little bit. I think it would get a little more fleet-footed in the years to come, but it's still absolutely fantastic. Blackmore's first solo, that middle one between the verses, super tasty, super fluid. That second solo, he immediately just kind of steps up and takes off. Glover sounds absolutely fantastic, kind of pushing Blackmore a little bit more in that second solo. We get about 4.5 minutes with like the Strange Kind of Woman proper middle solo, ending solo. And then we kind of, at 4:20, we kind of put on the brakes and hit that moment where we kind of bring it down. Richie kind of fools around. Ian comes in, kind of fools around with him. We kind of go back and forth for a while. And then it's just, they just extend it to like past 10 minutes for no reason other than to just kind of let Richie fool around and let Pace kind of like interact with him for a little bit, and then kind of let the temperature rise. Like, you can tell they're still trying to figure out what to do at the end of the song. They know they want to do something. They eventually end up on that, what I think is entertaining, the interplay between Ian the singer and Blackmore, and that kind of back and forth before they end it. Here it's really just that, let's let Richie Blackmore go off for a while. Just go off, Blackmore. Just do your thing. Ian will come in and kind of give you some drum support for a while, but we'll just give this over to you. So I like that. The more Blackmore, the better. But it is a very indulgent, Strange Kind of Woman. And I do think the actual song itself is maybe doesn't quite have that just sleekness that it would have eventually, but it's still a fascinating listen. But I think it's more of a fascinating listen. Like, this is one of those listens, mainly because of some of the sound quality and just because of the indulgence. Like, you really got to be into deep, you got to be deep Purple to really, like, I don't know, want this, to be honest. You could appreciate it, yeah, or not appreciate it. But you got to have a need for Blackmore to be filled to really get into this. Next, we get A Child in Time. Pretty standard version of this. Once we get in, all the little transitions early on are just absolutely fantastic. We go into that neat little groove after the vocals. But when Richie's first solo comes in, like, he is just off. He is ready to go. It's absolutely fantastic. Lord eventually comes in, gets a really nice, long, like almost 6-minute solo in which he goes through a number of different tones. Kind of really brings it down, gets really proggy for a while, but we just get a super indulgent, long, just let John go for a while, probably like close to 6 minutes. Then Richie comes in around the 11-minute mark. This is like an over 20-minute Child in Time. He comes in kind of making some squeaking and squealing noises and just kind of making noise. Him and Lord kind of go out at it for a while. We get that nice little written section in the middle before we jump into the Blackmore solo proper. And then as soon as we hit Blackmore solo around the 12.5-minute mark, again, Blackmore's just off. He is ready to go. Super fast runs. Kind of super clean sound, not really distorted, almost kind of jazzy. And this solo, like the Speed King, I was like, all right, It's still speaking. We still get some tasty Blackmore. Strange Kind of Woman, super indulgent. Still get some tasty Blackmore. This solo, the sort of main Richie Blackmore solo, which is about 2.5 minutes long, pedal to the metal, but super clean. Just these like it's like a Blackmore solo, like comparing a Zappa solo to a Blackmore solo, because those are like two of my favorite guitarists. The best Zappa solos seem to have this narrative thread from start to finish. And while they may go all over the place, there seems to be some sort of like logical continuity between it. Blackmore feels like, I'm going to do this run for 30 seconds. I'm going to do this for 30 seconds. I'm going to do this for 20. I'm going to do this for 30. I'm just going to show off for all this time. But it's exhilarating and it's exhausting and it's so much fun. So he gets just this super intense 2.5 minute solo. And it's just the most exhilarating 2.5 minutes ever. Like, even without hearing Mandrake Root, I'm like, all right, this is already worth it just for this Child in Time action. We eventually go back into the closing part. We get that awesome jam at the end. Yeah, it's just, it is a really good Child in Time. There are better Child in Times, but that Richie Blackmore solo, just, it is so tasty. Then we get a Mandrake Root, like 27, 28 minutes long, very Hendrixy early. It just feels so Jimmy. It just feels like you can feel that sort of psych guitar energy that Jimmy brings. We're definitely in more of that territory than your traditional Deep Purple hard rock territory. We get the Mandrake Root song, about 2.5 minutes in. We're off into the Lord solo. And Lord gets about a good 5-minute solo. A little bit more of like, we go low again, but we also get some funkier keyboard sounds by Lord. He's kind of, having done what he has done in Child in Time, he's now going further and pushing the envelope even more and doing things that are a little bit more forward-looking as far as keyboard sounds and synth sounds and where we would go in like the middle of the 70s. We got a really skittish groove. We don't drop into that sort of bass-driven psych groove that Mandrake Root is kind of known for that would carry over into Space Druckin' until we get the Blackmore solo after like 5 minutes of the Lord solo. The Lord solo, dynamically and sort of where it goes over its 5 minutes, is kind of similar to the Child in Time. The Child in Time solo is definitely has more space and it's more dramatic. This is definitely more of a like, let's strut our stuff solo. But in both of them, he kind of brings it down, allows it to build up. We kind of have the same journey. After that, at the 7-minute and 45-second mark, right around there, Blackmore starts soloing. And he doesn't stop soloing until about 18 minutes later. And the next 18 minutes is all Richie Blackmore. Really playful, really melodic at first, at times noisy. We get just your perfect, like, several minutes of Richie Blackmore randomness, where I'm doing this, and now I'm doing this, and now I'm going to be all melodic and pretty. Now this is kind of classical. Now we're just going to do noise. And I've been listening to a lot of Zappa 74, Fall 74, and he has these solos that are just like, feel so fragmented. Blackmore, for some reason, never feels fragmented. It's like the nature of the Blackmore beast, just that chaos element that he brings to his solo. Around the 11.5 mark, things start to get pretty quiet. So after like 4 minutes of him just kind of being all over the place, super tasty stuff. Him going like rock noisy for a while and kind of doing that rock and roll thing. Things get quiet for about 3 minutes, and he's doing more of like those atmospheric vibes, nice little cool licks. Richie's still fully engaged, but we're definitely calming it down for a while. After 3 minutes, we get a nice big drop back into the song. Nice jazzier solo here. We get some lighter side of tones. Then we start doing some chicken scratching. We're starting like, almost sounds like bok, bok, bok. He's making the guitar squeal, starting to mess around with the whammy bar, starting to make more noise. And every couple minutes, he just kind of ups the noise factor, starts bending it a little more. The full band comes in. Richie's just like scraping strings and bending strings and like tweaking strings. By the 21-minute mark, I wrote, Richie is just making noise. The rest of the band is supporting him. I'm sure Ian, the singer's backstage, just enjoying himself. But pace. From the time Lord's solo starts, I mean, the entire song, pace is nonstop. Just like pushing the groove in some way, even when they bring it low. Pace is like, you can just like really, really quiet. It is absolutely amazing. And the ending of this is just pure chaos. Like the last 4 or 5 minutes, it's just like the band is just pushing this wall of noise, just like continue to push it forward, push it forward. How long can we push this wall of noise forward? We can go further. Wait, what's Richie doing now? Oh yeah, we got to keep going because Richie's not done. It's an exhilarating. I think it's the best Mandrake Root I've ever heard. It is a roller coaster ride in which at no point do you go up and wait for the drop. It just shoots you forward and you just hold on like that for like 27 minutes. I guess Lord gives you a little break in his solo, and I guess Richie does give you a little break. So you have a couple minutes where you get to go up and rest while they're still doing stuff before you go down these really steep inclines. But I think this Mandrake Root, I think that Child in Time solo, regardless of what you think of Speed King as an opener, regardless of your feelings of Strange Kind of Woman. Oh, that review I read, which just bashed this, hated Strange Kind of Woman, thought it was one of the worst songs ever. I can listen to every version of this. I should find out what the review was. Just Google Deep Purple Long Beach 71 review. I think it was the second or third review. You can see in the Google, it says, this is an abomination. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I agree with everything you said about the facts of the album. I just have different opinions about an 18-minute Richie Blackmore solo. But yeah, I really, really enjoy this album. I think it's really good. It's all about Richie and Ian Pace. I think those two are just like elevating this to the next level. Clever, I kind of wish was mixed a little more. Lord is good, but I don't think it's one of Lord's best outings as far as Deep Purple releases, though the stuff he's doing like in the second half of his Mandrake Root solo is really, really tasty and really, really good. But yeah, I mean, if you're a hardcore Deep Purple fan and you haven't heard this, it's on YouTube. It's on their official YouTube page, whatever that is. I don't know what that means, but it's on that page. You can find it there. I think, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's where it is. I think I saw it. Anyways, yeah, where would I rank this? If I had to rank it among all the others, I have it pretty high at the top, and it's really for those last two songs. I'm trying to bring up my list here. I have a whole new setup over here because one of my computers crashed, and so it's all weird. But I have it right there at number, what number is that? You can see it, I can't. Yeah, it's at number 7. If you look what's below it, like it's 85, a lot of 90s stuff, a lot of stuff out there. That Live in London show, just some issues with that. And everything above it, you know, is 70 stuff, Mark II stuff, Mark III stuff, Mark IV stuff. And at the top, I will say this, my preferred stuff from this era, those top 2 albums, that Live in Stockholm, the Scandinavian Nights, the In Concert, those are just like, nothing can compete with those as far as I'm concerned, as far as Deep Purple's playing goes. But this one's up there. This one's up there. I think had the Speed King been maybe a little more focused, a little more something, even at the Strange Kind of Woman, maybe if they had figured it out a little more and had a little more focus to that indie jam, this might jump up a couple. But I think I'm pretty comfortable with it at number 7, which I don't think is anything to not be proud of, especially in a Deep Purple live list. All right, that's all I got. Yeah, thanks for watching. Subscribe, like, share, comment. You know how these things work. If I messed up on something, let me know. Yeah. All right. I guess that's all I got to say. Thanks for watching. Yeah, I'm going to go host a poetry slam now. Maybe I saw you there last night. Got $1,000 to stake. This thing's going to be huge. So, all right. That's all I got. Peace. Talk to you later.